Here you go, ma'am. Have a nice day.
Thank you, dear.
It was a cold Tuesday morning in Toledo, Ohio, at a small grocery store. Gray clouds covered the sky and snow was melting on the sidewalks. Inside the store, a 17-year-old boy named Daniel McKinney was working as a cashier. He worked weekends and after school to help his mom pay for her medicine. Daniel lived with his mom, who used to be a nurse, in a tiny house with just 2 bedrooms. Daniel wasn't the kind of kid who got a lot of attention. He didn't win awards or get his name in the newspaper. He was just a quiet, polite boy who always showed up to work on time and did his job well. But Daniel had something special that many people don't have. He was truly kind to everyone he met. Around 10:45 that morning, an elderly woman came to Daniel's checkout line. Her name was Mrs. Evelyn Carter, and she was 82 years old. Everyone in the neighborhood knew her because she used to be a 3rd-grade teacher. The kids all called her Miss Carter back then. But after her husband died and her pension got smaller, life became much harder for her. Mrs. Carter had just 3 things to buy that day: a loaf of bread, a small carton of milk, and 1 can of soup. She put these items carefully on the conveyor belt. Daniel smiled at her and said, "Good morning, ma'am. I hope you're staying warm today." She smiled back a little, but didn't say much. When Daniel scanned all her items, the computer showed the total: $5.83. Mrs. Carter slowly reached into her purse and pulled out a tissue bundle. Inside were coins and crumpled dollar bills, quarters, dimes, nickels, and even some pennies. This was all the money she had. She counted the money twice, then counted it again. She was 73 cents short. The store was busy, and the line behind her was getting long. Some people started getting impatient. Mrs. Carter looked up at Daniel with sad eyes and quietly asked, "Could we maybe put the soup back, dear?" A man in line groaned loudly. A woman muttered, "Come on, hurry up!" But Daniel just looked at Mrs. Carter, then at the soup, then at her shaking hands holding the coins. Without saying a word, he reached under his register and pulled out his own wallet. Mrs. Carter tried to stop him. "No, honey," she said. "I can come back later. It's okay." But Daniel just shook his head with a kind smile and said, "I had a good week with tips. The soup's on me." He scanned the soup can before she could say no. What Daniel didn't know was that everyone in line had been watching quietly. Mr. Harlan Davis, a retired Marine who was 3 people back in line, saw everything. Rachel Dunlap, who worked at the local radio station and was buying groceries before work, saw it too. A woman named Samantha Monroe was even recording it on her phone, not to get views online, but because her own grandmother had once been in Mrs. Carter's situation. As Mrs. Carter took her grocery bag and whispered, "God bless you," to Daniel, he thought that was the end of it. But then something amazing happened. The woman who was next in line stepped forward with tears in her eyes. "I want to pay for the next 5 people behind me," she said loudly. The man after her added, "Make it 10 people. I'll pay for the rest." In just 30 seconds, dozens of shoppers were opening their wallets, pulling out credit cards, and talking to strangers about paying for their groceries. Some people even asked Daniel for his phone number so they could send him tip money. It was like kindness was spreading from person to person like a wildfire. The store manager came running over, confused about what was happening. "Did something go wrong?" he asked. Rachel, the radio worker, said, "Yeah, something beautiful happened. You should see this video Samantha took." Samantha had posted the video online with the words, "Teen cashier does what no adult did. Humanity restored." The video was shared over 4 million times in just 2 days. The local news picked up the story, then the national news, and even the Ellen Show called the store. But Daniel just went home that night like always. He warmed up some leftover food and helped his mom organize her medicine pills for the week. He didn't think he had done anything special. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived at the store. It was handwritten with no return address, just tucked inside a birthday card. It was addressed to the young man at Register 3. The letter said, "You don't know me, but you helped someone I love more than words can say. That woman was my mother. She raised me by herself and gave everything to other people her whole life. Last week she told me she had never felt so embarrassed until you reminded her that she still mattered. Thank you for being the kind of man I hope my son grows up to be." The store manager put the letter in a frame and hung it on the wall. Daniel's co-workers started calling him D-Man the Hero, but he didn't like that nickname. He said, "I just did what my mom taught me. You help people if you can." The most amazing part came next. Mrs. Carter started getting letters in her mailbox, hundreds of them from complete strangers. People sent her cards, grocery store gift cards, and offers to help pay her bills. One man from Arizona even said he would pay for her electric and gas bills for a whole year. All of this happened because one teenage boy chose to be kind instead of convenient, and chose to help instead of hurry. In a world where everyone seems to be rushing around, one teenager stopped to help, one elderly woman felt like she mattered, and one small moment started a fire of kindness that spread across the whole country. The story makes you think. What would you have done if you were in line behind Mrs. Carter? Would you have been impatient? Or would you have helped? Because the next time you see someone counting coins at the store, you might be the hero they never expected to meet. Daniel's simple act of kindness showed everyone that being good to others doesn't cost much money, but it can change everything. Sometimes the smallest gestures, like paying for someone's soup, can start the biggest changes. And sometimes it's the youngest people who show the rest of us how to be better human beings. Mrs. Carter never had to worry about being embarrassed at the grocery store again. Daniel kept working at the store and helping his mom. And thousands of people who saw the video were inspired to be a little kinder in their own lives. That's how one can of soup and 73 cents turned into a lesson that reminded everyone that kindness is the most powerful thing in the world.